Welcome to the Mentor Studio, where today's thought leaders and leading entrepreneurs inspire and bring real-world ideas that help you take your career to levels you've only dreamed of. Now buckle in. Here's your host, Michael Silvers.
Welcome, everybody, to the Mentor Studio today. It's so exciting to have you on the podcast. If you want to know more about us or how you could become involved, there's a couple different ways. You can go to the website. You can go to thementorsstudio.com. That's mentors. You can put an S there. Studio also has an S, so thementorsstudio.com. What that will do is that brings you right into our community. You can join our community. We have calls, we have networking, and we're really excited to have you. If you want more information, of course, you can always reach out to one of the team, but why don't you join the community first and then reach out to me on the community, and I'm happy to answer any questions. We also do talk about it on the calls. We have a networking call once a week, and we also have a masterminding call. We just stagger them every other week. So with that being said, to be a community, really, it's about transition and team. Without a team, I couldn't do what I've done. So a lot of you know that I did. I've worked with years with my wife, and I traveled the world with Chris Howard, and we went to Australia back and forth, and we then were on the teams with Harv Eker and Peak Potentials, and then with the Tony Robbins teams that put him around the world with Robert Kiyosaki. It's been a great life. I've been able to speak on the big stages, work with the best of the best, been directors of the big divisions, and also in the podcast, been able to interview those. We just had Michael Hutchinson, who was Tony's VP from the beginning, with Mary Glorfield, who was his vice president for 18 years. We had Joseph McClendon. We got a lot of Tony people, right? Who's been on stage with him. We'll get more people from the Robert Kiyosaki world, of course. And we just had Keith Cunningham. Doesn't get any better, you know. So it is about the brilliance of team as people surround you. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves because I believe in earn the right. Earn the right is critically important. So Brian, why don't you just for a minute tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll go from there. And then Jeffrey, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, thanks, Michael, and great to see everybody here. My background is software engineering by trade. I don't do that anymore, but as a result, I love automation of all kinds and have done that for a number of years. Also love speaking from stage. I was a lead trainer for a mentor of mine for a couple of years and taught his students from stage on his weekend events. So just excited to be here, part of the Mentor Studio, along with you and Jeffrey and everyone else. So thanks for having us.
Awesome. And Jeffrey, go ahead.
Great to be here. It's wonderful to be here. Basic background, I come from the world of training, executive coaching, and leadership development, starting in high tech and working in corporations and working with the leadership teams, and then expanding into markets, and had the opportunity to get into the whole personal development field and working with people like Michael and others who moving more into the personal development, leadership development, and also along with that, just helping people really be their best selves and accelerate in their area of expertise and do well along the way.
Yeah, and he knows I'm gonna bring this up. So no matter how you look at it, Jeffrey and I have known each other a long time, at least 45 years, right? No, it's been, I don't even know, the last 9 years, 8 years, something around there. But he was, we both did courses at Peak Potentials, and I was director of coaching at that point, and I saw this shining star come out as one of our coaches first, and then asked him to lead the whole division with me. And it was the best thing I ever did, because of the way he looked at systems is the way I don't. Literally, I'm a point and shoot, right? Point me in a direction, give me what I need to do, and I can sell it, develop it, and build a community. But when it comes to the strategic part of what's in the background and how it looks and the manuals and how the coaches need to be trained and how it should all be laid out, not my specialty, right? And that's why you surround yourself with the best of the best. And Jeffrey, really, if it wasn't for him, that division wouldn't have been what it is. So give Jeffrey a big round of applause for that, everybody. And really, for the move for the Mentor Studio now to the Mighty Network is I've been making Jeffrey crazy for the last year because I'm good at doing that. And we found Brian through Brigida. This is where you ask, right? And Brian just stepped in and got it done. And we literally, from the time I met Brian, we're starting to move to the network. Has it been 30 days, 45 days? I don't even know. And that's the kind of speed you're looking for in the industry. So, from the perspective of systems, strategies, and backgrounds, Why don't you guys talk a little bit about that? Brian, how important is it from your background, really to connect all the systems, and especially today in today's market online, how important that is from a just social media perspective to making the whole thing work and people actually buying what you have?
Yeah, systems are extremely important, more so now than ever before, with all the new tools that are coming online that everyone is becoming acclimated with and expect. And it's a great time to be alive as a geek myself, because now we get to put together systems that I've always loved doing that work. And the beautiful thing is when you have a system in place, you're taking away the human error factor when you have certain things like that are automated, as an example. But systems are very, very important to have in your business, so you can have repeatable processes that run. I see Jeffrey nodding. We're like kindred spirits. This guy, I love this guy. We're geeks in United. And yeah, systems are vitally important to any business, I think, no matter how big you are, but especially if you ever want to scale, more important than ever, because when you bring in new team members, you need to have a system in place so that they can follow that system pretty easily with very little time out of your own day teaching them the new processes that they're about to embark on.
And can you talk just a little bit about Mighty Networks? And look, we don't own it. It's a network on its own, right? But in a way, sort of the things you were looking, because people here are always looking for systems. And how do I look for a system? What are some of the questions I asked? Could you just explain some of the things you looked for, from connectivity to a community to just responsiveness?
Yeah, it's literally the process was I asked you guys the questions. You provided the answers I needed. And that's key when you're doing any kind of business. When you're putting together a solution, don't solve what you think they want, solve what they want. And so I asked you guys pointed questions, and probably to the point where you're like, stop asking questions. But that got me to the point where I could then go search for a resource that would hit as many of those points as possible. And typically I don't hit 100%, but this time I think Mighty Networks was one of those rare ones that it hit every bullet point you guys were looking for that I could ascertain. And so it's kind of like a Facebook group that will never get you shut down. You'll never get shut down on your Facebook account. So it's got more flexibility, especially from our end, so we can put together something that best fits the community versus just a one size fits all. It's very flexible, very feature rich. It's got more stuff than we even know about even today, but we're learning as we go as well and implementing as we go if it's a fit for the group.
Yeah, and the great thing too is, as you explained to me, and trust me, everybody, my eyes roll. But it's like when I talk to, my wife about, the online gaming I do. Right? We all have the things that we love to do, but she still listens because she loves me. Is from the perspective, it also had the connectivity we needed to from what I understand, to the CRM, to the texting, to the database. It had all this way to connect that you needed. Why is that important?
Yeah, it's vitally important so we can have outreach and communication, open communication. Just today, we received a message in the CRM side of the house for that purpose. It's also going to give us the ability to message everyone in certain camps, depending on what level of membership they have, and do so 100% under our own control if we get to the point where Mighty Networks may not have that kind of flexibility. So it's good to have flexibility, but it's a database. It's something now you can use. And this is a general statement, not just for the Mentor Studio, but it's something you now own the data, and you can then, if you have specials coming up, you can send out specials. If you have bonuses, if you have events that are not specifically tied to the Mighty Networks in this case, then you can do stuff like that and you get better outreach with it. And just the tools involved, you're able to do drip campaigns, build forums, landing pages, websites. I mean, it's a full-blown comprehensive on steroid CRM that enables you to do basically anything you need in your business. And it connects with so many other external services, Zapier and other things that help you glue all these pieces together like Mighty Networks to make your brand, your company, your image look professional and of high quality.
Yeah, and that's that piece. That's it. It's Jeffrey. You want to plus that?
Yeah, everything that Mike Bryant said, it's a big plus on that. And I think one of the key parts that he pointed out, which I think in working with small companies and entrepreneurs over the years, is really to have a discussion. Is what do you want to do? What is it that you want to accomplish? Because it's oftentimes what happens when people see systems and like, I want to grab this CRM and they're shopping around for all these different tools. It can be very overwhelming. And the second part is what you're buying really what you need at this point in time? So oftentimes it's before we even get into talking about tools and what, all the bells and whistles, what Brian did was really the starting point. What is it that you want to accomplish? And so it becomes more that take a step back and looking at the bigger picture. What's the customer journey that you're mapping out here? Or what's your experience and what is it that you want in terms of outcomes, data, information, and how you want to connect with people? And it may feel like, oh my goodness, it's so much time, much like the conversation we have with Michael most of the time, where he's asking these questions and he's like, oh, I'm so tired, I just want this done. Well, we can run fast and get things done and buy something off the shelf and spend a lot of time and energy trying to make it work. Or you can take the time to actually map out the process and actually take a minute and what is it that I want? And ask the people that you're serving as well, what do you want? In order to shorten that time frame and also, and along the way, make it down the road faster for you to meet the needs of future clients and future customers because you have things in place that can scale the way you want them to.
Yeah, it's fascinating because there are a lot of questions, right? And I'm not a question guy, right? It's just, so how you doing? Great. How you doing? Fantastic. We're done. We're finished. And it is but it's knowing your customer. And the reason it's great in a way, because somebody said, I sort of turned off membership for the last couple of months. There's been, if you've noticed, there's just been sort of these private invites. And that's because in a way, for the first 6 to 8 months, it was really about asking the members what you guys wanted, which is why there was a lot of that questioning going on. We had the first poll for some of you remember from way back. And it was to finally build something as we scale up, not for us, but for you. But a great question within that becomes, do I own the data I put into Mighty Networks? But what you do and what Brian's done and Jeffrey's done for us is there's a step before that. There's a place that you go that you put in your information and then you get it. So now we've captured it within our own system. And then it gives us the ability to do a lot of different things with it. And it's not just a CRM. I mean, Brian's tied a lot of things in there. Look, I'm from the old Infusionsoft days, right? That's all. It ran Peaks, it ran everything. And there's things it does great, and there's things, and it could be very expensive. And they're now rolling out a whole nother side. Infusionsoft's great. Look, it's podcast. People are going to hear this. But what Brian did is, for me, he made it simple and easy. And he also, this is important when you're working with somebody, even in your own business, think about this. Anytime he made a change or did anything, he shot a video that we could watch what he changed, what it was going to do, and what it would mean for all of us. Does that make sense? So I didn't have to spend it's my mind-numbing, oh my God, what's he talking about? Literally within 2 minutes, I knew what changes were going on, what was happening, what I needed to do. So from a team perspective, he kept the team always, and for those of you out there with teams, the team always knew what was going on, because any change like that, it was bullet point, and show us. So if the visuals got it, the auditories got it, however you learned, he'd smile. So the kinesthetic, I'm happy, right? There's all these things that from a team perspective came brilliantly together and made sense. And Brigitta's not on this call today, and Mary isn't, because Mary's actually working on right now the other huge event. So that's great. Brigitta's, we let her, she wanted to go on vacation, so she's on vacation. So the reason, but as a team, it came together really quick, from that perspective. But it also, there's a strategy and system around the leadership component of who drives the bus, or who's okay, people still drive buses. Do you know how much bus drivers are making now because they can't find them? But it's, or who's the captain of the ship? Jeffrey, can you talk just from a perspective of what we've created to a bigger picture, a little bit about leadership, and tell them a little bit about your podcast and actually where we just got ranked, and you too.
Well, it's always an interesting question, Michael, when we talk about leadership and the circles that we run in and the people we work with over the years, much as everyone here. You look at your client base, you are recognized as subject matter experts and leaders in your space, and the people that follow you, they're doing it for a reason. and because it's something that you have to say, the value that you have to offer to them, that is allowing them to expand, grow, and learn, and be better in whatever space they're in. I think the one thing that I've learned with us through our time together is just that willingness to be open, to ask questions, and also being vulnerable and saying, I don't know, and who can step in and provide some insight or help me understand, and that allowed for us to gain a better perspective on what it was that we really wanted to accomplish. And then once confirmed, then we were able to put together a plan to move forward.
I love it. And that's, it was from that perspective, and we got most of what you said. It is that team perspective. And the other thing too, that was really critical for anybody building a business there from the perspective of systems and social media and team and leadership is get your ego out of the way. Right. It's just, you got to let your ego and let your team do what they do best. There's a tendency of within that for us to either, to step on each other and stay in your lane. It's really critical as you're building a team, stay in your lane, do what you do best and let your team do what they do best, and then expand from there. And that's really that piece that just will make a difference in everything that you do. From the perspective, we're going to jump just back onto social media for a minute. But Brian, from the perspective of social media, now that, we're reaching out, we're going to go out more to social media. Why is it so important to have the system we have?
Kind of like what I said in the beginning was, now we have our own membership, our own community that cannot be dictated or moved or shut down by any external entity, which I've heard many times years ago, that Facebook and others would shut other people down. And if they're the admin of the group, there goes the group with it. And so this gives us the autonomy to work within our own, in our own wheelhouse and do things we want to with the freedoms we want. And that's important for everyone that's a business owner, to have the flexibility. It just reminds me, I've been in network marketing companies. I used to co-own one. And one thing I never liked about a network marketing company as a distributor was I had to do it their way or the highway. There was no leniency, no flexibility. I got shut down in 5 different companies for trying to market and help them build a bigger business because I wasn't doing it their way. So this gives us the freedom to build what we want to build that's best for you guys, the community. And that's the important part. What is the outcome? The outcome is for the experience, for the results. It's always about the results.
Yeah, and that's huge. And Jeffrey, I might have missed it because my brain might have just flown. Did you talk about, and if you did, just say, yes, I did, where we were just positioned, number 5 and 10 in your show?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I did mention it, so even better. Yeah, I was just doing a list of doing some research, and if you go to list notes, it's a directory of all the podcasts out there in the industry. It's a really great place. If you want to be a guest on a podcast, Listen Notes is the name of the site, and also if you want to get guests on your podcast, check it out. And just doing a search on it, one of the parts that I found is you can checking out where you are in the top 10. They have top 10 list, top percent or 5%. And the Mentor Studio podcast is actually in the top list as in top 5% of podcasts in its category. And so, it's a credit to Michael and to our friends and partners at Podetize who really help build this platform. And a big part of that is consistency. It's consistency of putting the message out there and sharing that. And over time, it's just that having that, it's like a steady rabbit or a steady turtle, whatever analogy you want to use out there. But it's a stay as you go. That's how you get the traction. That's how you create the momentum. When you try it, anytime I've seen it, and Michael and Brian, we've seen it so many times, right? It's like the quick blast, a quick hit, and we think it's going to be fast, and then it burns as just as bright and fast and dead as in the time frame you actually got started. And the ones that really keep to the pace and keep the focus allows her to grow. My podcast, it's the one I've been a part of, came out of the Mentor Studio and some of the other work, the Leaders Chair. Just recently, someone told me, he was a guest on my show. He said, I contacted you because I saw you were listed as one of the top 10%. I didn't even know that when he told me. And so I had to look it up and go, really? And that was only after, and I've only been out there since a year. So it's just really but it was really the consistency, which I've struggled with. Now I'm be open with you. It's usually been like 1, 2, 3, jumping everywhere. But it was one thing I made the commitment to say, this is what I'm going to do. And it's paid off.
Yeah. And it does pay off. And it's that consistency that moves you forward, and having the right systems in place and the right connections and being able to have the right people who can do what they do. So stop doing it yourself. Stop spending the money you don't need to spend, right? That's there's so many ways to skin this cat if you have the right person in your camp, and that will just make a big difference. So for more information about Brian and Jeffrey, they'll be in the show notes. Wanted to thank you all for listening to this. It is an amazing day to make the connections. And for those that are in the community, actually, Brian has a gift for everyone too that will become a bonus as one of our bonuses. Jeffrey's been part of my team and will be forever. So it's an amazing team we have. And I could not do what I do without those around us. So for more information, you can just go to the show notes. You can go to the YouTube channel. We're everywhere. We're on Apple. We're on Android. From the Mentor Studio, myself, Jeffrey, and Brian today, Mary Glorfield, one of my business partners who was Tony's VP for 18 years, Brigitte Hufferle, and everybody else. Wanted to thank you so much for being on the show today. Go to the show notes, see what's going on, see who you need to connect with, and make sure you join our community at The Mentors. That's with an S at the end of mentor and an S at the beginning of studio, thementorsstudio.com. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Everybody on this highway, Jeffrey and Brian, you guys have been awesome. All right, everybody, have a great day.
We're honored that you invested time with us today at the Mentor Studio. Now, don't be greedy. Share this knowledge bomb with all your dope peeps on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. Actually, we'll even pay you to do it. To get the deets, please check out thementorsstudio.com.